Yo yo yo, Multiplier here, and this is a tutorial on how to do Skrillex style laser noises in Native Instruments Massive. Cause I've noticed my Massive tutorials tend to be the most popular ones, and people seem to love lasers. I've noticed, and I love Skrillex. Skrillex pretty popular, and this laser noise I made recently for a remix, I think sounds, at least it's easiest for me to describe it as like the Skrillex style laser noises, in particular with the remix he did with Nero of Monsters Holding On. So if you know that kind of high energy drum and bass track, the lasers I'm making here to me sound closest to that kind of laser noise. Now it's obviously, before I get hate comments and shit, it's not perfect, but you know what, it's pretty damn close, and it's just the same approach to making noises if you spent long enough, you could get that exact sound that Skrillex uses. But to be honest, it doesn't matter if you get the exact sound or not. It's more just this general high energy kind of ragey vibe. And yeah, I'm pretty good at doing that. It's one of the things I'm known for. And yeah, I'm also going to show you the sound before I kind of deconstruct it, because yeah, people tell me to do that a lot. So yeah, let's do it. Now this is, I'm using it in a remix I started a few days ago of South Central's Bass Monster, and the routing of the audio is a little weird, so you have to bear with me while I just show you what it sounds like roughly. Sweet, so there you go, that's what it will sound roughly like in a song. I've done some very basic mixing stuff, like I've got the laser sound and the associated sub bass routed into here. I just got some basic distortion on, just to kind of mangle it together a bit, so that when I'm producing I have a rough idea of how it will sound after I've finally tuned the mixing. But yeah, that's roughly how it will sound in the song. Obviously you have to imagine it majorly processed and kind of slammed with a limiter, but you can get how that kind of energy really comes across. It's really ragey and really cool. So what I'm going to do is route the laser noise and the sub noise away from this little distortion thing for now, so I can actually kind of show you how it's made and stuff. Right, we probably want this on master, and then laser sub on master as well. Cool, so now wonder if we can do, sweet, that works. I got an idea. What if I do, no, sweet, that was really pro. But yeah, now you can hear me talking, and the laser, see? I'll turn it up a little bit. No, not all of them. Whatever that'll do. Just so you can actually hear it. Cool. Sweet. And then you got sub bass as well. And I'm going to show you how to make both. Right, enough talking shit and being slow and not thinking things through and planning. Let's get straight into it. How'd you make that laser noise? Well, you want Massive, which is here. And basically what I did, opened up a new sound. There's not too much involved in this, to be honest. It's not that complicated. It's basically just a few basic ideas. So the first thing you do when you load it up, you go to the oscillator tab, click restart via gate. Super important, as I always say. If you don't know what that button does, click it. Yeah, just click it unless you know what it is. If you know what it is, you'll know whether or not you want to click it, basically. Done. Next, what do you do? Number 4, which is the envelope. Now, if you're new to Massive, this is by default routed to the amplitude of the whole synth sound. So this is kind of the main amplitude. And what you're going to do here is, this is roughly what the default is, but you'll find you want to play with the decay setting, the attack, and the level are probably the only ones you want to play with. And then depending on, for example, how quickly you're like stabbing the MIDI key and how plucky you want it, that will determine how, like, what decay settings and what level settings you have. So you'll have to just play around with the attack, the decay, and the level yourself to suit. In my case, I'm at 112 beats per minute, and I've got some 32ths and then mostly 16ths. So the default amplitude setting worked out all right for what I wanted. But again, it's up to you, personal preference. There isn't a right thing to do. So just play around with it, sort of thing. You can leave it as default or roughly default and then come back to it after you've figured out the rest of the noise. Cool. So after that, what's going on? Your 3 oscillators doing stuff. So you probably want to turn up the amplitude of these two, oscillator 2 and oscillator 3. So I think by default they come turned down. And what you want to do is you want one of the oscillators, in this case oscillator 2, an octave down or up, doesn't really matter, which is 12 semitones, and then you want to detune it an awful lot. In this case, no detune would be minus 12, but now it's minus 11.67, so that's pretty detuned. That's like a third of a semitone detuned, and that gives it more character. Basically, you'll kind of hear as you detune it more character developing. You know, sound thicker and just more lasery and more grrr, which is good. And also you'll notice when you get round to distorting the sound, the detune really comes alive, because distortion and detuning, especially in slightly aggressive music, really goes hand in hand together. Like if you do one without the other, might work, probably won't work that well, but detune, add some distortion, suddenly all those kind of what's technically called dissonance, those characters come alive with the distortion. So yeah, you want to be detuning, super important. And as far as the pitch on the third one, the idea here is you create just some weird, slightly like unharmonic kind of extra little bit. So in this case, I did minus 4.88 semitones up. Semi-randomly, 5 semitones is kind of musical, and then it's detuned quite a lot. So it's kind of, it's not too unharmonic, but it's definitely gives you that sharpness, which is what you want. And that's what gives the lasers more kind of, not grittiness, but kind of, more sharpiness. I don't know, just do it. You'll notice when you start adding the oscillator and what effect it does. It's hard to explain, but it makes it sound more like a laser. And as far as which voices and what wavetable positions, just play around with it. I'd recommend your fundamental 2, which are an octave apart, to be a square or saw wave, just because they tend to sound a lot thicker. Some of these weirder voices like escalation 2, and to be honest, a lot of them are quite thin. And if you want a thick sound, you want a square or saw, just to thicken things out. And then it also works quite well if you have this weird kind of like inharmonic bit, a thinner one. An escalation 2 is an example of a thinner one. But play around with it, play around with the wavetable positions, see what you like. It's up to you. There's no real right or wrong one to choose. Apart from that, we have 2 envelope amplitudes playing with a pitch, and that's what gives you the ness, like the pitch going down. You can use these envelopes however you like, but the way I did it is I got number 1 doing 36 semitones up, which is 3 octaves, and if you look, there is a really, really short decay time. So this is what gives the start of the laser noise, like it's called the attack. It gives it that kind of really fast pitch down, which especially when you jab it really quickly, makes it sound like a laser. if you had like long notes, the attack bit kind of you forget about it, but when you're jabbing the MIDI notes over and over again, the attack bit is really important to get right, and you want that really fast, really big pitch down. That's what a laser is. It goes so you need that pitch down thing. And again, to play with you probably only want the level probably all the way down, and then play with the decay, but you probably want it quite short, and then the attack, kind of play with that until you get it what you like. You'll find if you move the attack around a bit so it's a bit longer, you get something slightly more interesting at the start of the attack. But yeah, just play with it, see if it suits the sound you want. On top of that, we have a slow decay, because with the laser noise, you have a really fast pitch down, and then you have kind of a slower one that's kind of so it kind of really fast, but then it still kind of goes down slower afterwards, and that's what the second one's for. So in this case, envelope 2 again, level down, get it looking like that shape. This case only 1 octave, but again you can choose, to be honest, anything you like. And then there's a long decay time. Again, the attack's up to you, but it's having these combination of a really short kind of large modulation pitch down, and then a second slower pitch down thing, and that's quite a subtle thing you can forget to kind of program in when you're programming a laser noise. It can be easy just to put 1 envelope down, so try 2. Pretty nice. No filters, don't need filters, although a lot of the time it can be nice to have a filter. So again, if you want more character, you want to mix things up, try a filter. Scream tends to work quite well if you're doing a lot of this kind of aggressive dubsteppy bass music, call it what you want, that kind of high energy music, you know what I mean. Scream works quite well, and we all use Scream because we're all unoriginal. Yeah, no filters, which means you don't have to worry about all these stupid filter routings and all that shit. Apart from that, none of this shit, don't need any of that. Effects, this is where it's really up to you. Chorus, in this case I decided I want a bit of chorus, give it a bit of width, a bit more character. You want some effects basically, whether or not you use the effects in Massive or out of Massive, it's up to you. Personally, I just threw these on because I know these effects. In fact, they're pretty much default, chorus and phaser. Just gives it more character. If you're not using effects, you're probably not getting as much subtle character as you want. And even though you may not hear, in fact, if I played you the song, you wouldn't hear this chorus. But it's like the whole idea of making music is it's the sum of lots of small enhancements. So just little enhancements everywhere, even though these effects are quite subtle in the broader context of the song. Chuck them on. It'll do you good. Voicing, forgot about this. This is pretty important. In fact, it's one of the main things. I should have done it sooner. If you don't know much about voicing, I seriously recommend you learn, because it's like synthesis 101 pretty much. It's easy to overlook. I overlooked it for like 6 months at least when I was first using Massive. Felt kind of stupid, but yeah, basically the number of voices is how many instances of the oscillators it gives you. And why that's good is you can basically, the most important or the most useful thing I personally find is you can use it to make your sound wider. So in this case, it starts off as 1 as default, just 1 voice, turn it up, and now there's 2 voices. So whenever you hit a note, it's kind of playing 2 instances of the oscillators. And now it comes alive when you turn these on. This one is the pitch, what they call the pitch cutoff. Basically turn that on and drag this slider along from the left. And the more you drag it along from the left, the more there'll be like a detuning between the different voices. So we have 2 voices here, and drag this along a bit. So each of the voices are detuned, so they're slightly different pitch, and that gives you a bit more detuning, a bit more character. But how you get that width is by turning on this pan position and dragging this either left or right. Don't know what the difference is, But if you drag it most of the way over, you'll definitely notice it will sound wider, because what's happening is you're tricking your brain, basically, because you've got this subtle detuning, so your two voices are basically very slightly different. If they were exactly the same and you drag this over, you wouldn't hear a difference, because basically it would still sound like it was coming in the center, because your ears would be getting the sound, basically the same sound at the same time. But because they're getting a very subtly different sound by this detune, it sounds wider. It sounds like the same sound but wider, because dragging this to the side basically puts, in this case, because there's only two oscillators, it puts one oscillator one side, one oscillator on the other side. And by having that subtle difference, your brain thinks it's the same sound, but because it's basically the same sound but coming from the side, it's like a different sound, but it's the same sound. It's hard to explain. I did a tutorial on how to make sounds wide and massive. If that still didn't explain it and you want to know why it makes it sound wide, just Google it, Google something. But yeah, that's how to make it sound wide. If you're curious, dragging this number up, don't need to drag it very high. Turning those two on, dragging this a little bit or a lot, and then dragging this further left or further right is wider. And that's nice. Another option is to maybe only drag it a little bit, or not do any of this voicing stuff, and having a dimension expander effect, because that's really, really good. It's one of massive strengths. I think you can get the dimension expander. I think Steve Duda copied the dimension expander and gave you a free plugin if you just want the dimension expander, but that's a whole other tutorial. But yeah, I rambled a bit, but it's super important that you understand all this voicing shit, because it's, if you're not using it, you're missing out, basically. You're not making sounds as good as you could do, and it's sort of thing, you take it for granted. Once you know it, it becomes second nature. Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole laser sound. I know it's taken a while, but you know what? Making shit takes a while, and it's more useful I talk you through it instead of just saying, turn this knob here, because that's fucking useless, because unless you get the settings exactly the same, you won't get the same sound, and it's useless if you want to make your own sound. So that's your laser sound. It's worth noting, I haven't got any delay or reverb. I will at some stage, but I haven't decided how I'm mixing the track, so I haven't decided whether or not for this laser noise I want a delay or reverb or anything like that. So I've left that off for now, but you will want in the final track some sort of delay or reverb, just because you want to fill out the space, give it some character, make it more interesting, basically. Yeah. Now, with that laser noise by itself, it will sound pretty light. And what you want in this kind of music is almost certainly you'll want to layer it with an associated sub bass. You don't necessarily have to. Sometimes it makes more sense just to layer your lasers over some other like proper bass sound or whatever. But in this case, whenever the lasers are playing, they have the predominant synth, so I want the associated sub bass to basically follow the laser. And how do you do that? Well, let's open it up. Basically what I did, you can almost, in fact you can see how I made the sub bass. You've got your standard laser preset, which was called Laser for Bass Monster, and what you do is you want the you basically want, what have we done here? Okay, we did what I thought I did. Just thought I'd check before I talk shit. You want the MIDI notes for your laser, just copy it into a different one, and then you change the preset. So instead of doing your laser sound, you've just got a simple sine wave, and then it means your envelope setting, which this is carried over from the laser from Bass Monster before, is the same, which is just a complicated way of saying you want the sub bass, which is just a simple sine wave, to kind of follow the laser noise. Now sometimes you want it to follow the envelope as well. In this case, I haven't, but sometimes I do. And how do you turn your previous preset into a sine wave? You just turn everything off, like turn oscillator 2 off, turn oscillator 3 off, turn the effects off. I would turn the filters off if there were any filters. I think I've accidentally left all the voicing on. I'll probably have to fix this, because you want your bass in the center. So yeah, see, I've even noticed my own mistake. Make sure you've only got one voice. Don't fuck with any of this, because you want your bass to be really central. So yeah, turn all this shit off, which I will do. And then whether or not you want your sub bass to follow the amplitude depends on the track, depends how fast you're jabbing the laser, depends on what you want to do. In this case, or at least at the moment, I've turned or muted the envelopes, and then you just choose sine square or sine triangle and drag the wavetable around to the left, meaning it's just a sine wave, and then making sure the intensity's up and the amplitude's up. And then you have your oh yeah, and you need to turn the just pitch it down however many octaves you need till it hits the sub bass region, and then you'll have your sub bass. Hopefully that made sense. Just hit me up a comment if that didn't make sense. I forgot I was going to tell you about this, which is why it sounded a bit muffled. But yeah, that's your sub bass. And then I've only done it really, really roughly, like for the time being, because I still haven't finished writing the track. But then what you want to do is you want to route the laser sound and the sub bass. However you route it is up to you. There's a million ways of doing it, but in this case I just routed them into this track. And then I've got a saturator on, which is just a simple distortion. It's not even a plugin, it becomes built into Ableton Live. But that's just basically distorts it. And what that does is it kind of fills it out. If you don't have the distortion, it sounds really clean, but it doesn't have that weight and that fullness. It's hard to describe the effect that distortion has, because we're using it in this case not necessarily as a crazy effect, because sometimes the dubstep guys are like, let's crank up the distortion, or the electro guys so much that the distortion becomes the sound. In this case, the distortion isn't becoming the sound, it's just you want the distortion there to kind of fill in the gaps, because it adds in all the harmonics and shit to kind of fill in all the bits of the spectrum that weren't there without the distortion. It just fills it out, makes it sound thicker. Also, it helps with when you get to doing compressing and limiting for mixing and mastering. If you do your distortion really carefully, this isn't doing it carefully, this is just kind of a work in progress distortion. If you do it carefully, it makes that process easier, because it's things like if you do your distortion nicely, you'll have a really fixed level for your bass, and then you can kind of set the levels relative to your kick really nicely. So it's just one way of doing it. But yeah, I've just routed the laser and the sub bass into distortion. So yeah, and then actually you might want the reverb on there. Actually, I'm not sure where I put the reverb yet. But yeah, that's just an idea. That's a load of mixing shit. That's not actually relevant to making the preset. So yeah, there you have it. That's wow, 23 minutes. It's quite a long tutorial on how to make Skrillex style laser presets. And if you've forgotten, this preset is in my kind of free massive presets thing. I've still giving it away on Facebook for free. There's a link below, just follow it and you'll find it. Basically giving away all the presets I've used in the last year or two. The only problem is they're not named very well, but they are all there. So there'll be lots of weird, almost duplicates. Like if I want to save a preset for a track, I'll call it like so and so 2 and so and so 3. So there's a few weird names, but there's loads of amazing presets because I pretty much only use Massive, a little bit of FM8, but mostly Massive. So all my presets are in there, and the one you're looking for, if you want this one, is called Laser for Bass Monster, and it's in the the main folder. It's not in old presets or anything like that. So yeah, laser for bass monster, and then the sub bass is just laser for bass monster sub. So yeah, because always get in the habit of saving your presets when you make something cool, because plugins are temperamental bitches, and it's incredibly annoying when you spend ages dialing in a sound and then whatever crashes, and then suddenly you reopen it and the preset's gone. So yeah, just save that shit whenever you get something cool. It also means you end up with this humongous folder of presets, which means if you're ever feeling a bit lazy and don't want to create a new sound from scratch, but you know you want, say, a synth sound, just load up one of the synths you used a while ago and play with the settings from there. It means you don't have to reprogram the whole setup. So it's useful to just save all your shit. So yeah, that's do I have any other tips for lasers and stuff? No, I guess it's all mixing shit. That's a whole other tutorial. So yeah, I've been Multiplier. Links to all sorts of shit below: Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud. I'm not sure of my Beatport. I should put my Beatport link in. And then I got my record label, Relentik Records. Started releasing shit just over 2 weeks ago. Got loads of mad stuff coming out. Really, really good music. Got lots of music coming out actually. Pretty much every week, if not every other week, from me and loads of other guys over all sorts of genres. It's not just dubstep and mental shit, although we do have dubstep and mental shit. So yeah, check us out, Relentik Records. Just buy loads of shit, because I need the money, if I'm honest. I don't have a job. So yeah, sweet. I've been Multiplier. It's been quite a long tutorial, but you know what? Fuck it. It's better that I actually explain what I'm doing. So yeah, whatever. Cool. Yeah, recommend tutorials. Yeah, sweet. See you later. Bye.